Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running for election throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and today I am here with Representative Beryl Brown-Piccolantonio, who is running to keep her seat in the Ohio State House representing District 4. Hello, Representative. It is great to have you today.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for doing this. And you are more than welcome to please call me Burl.
Oh, thank you very much, Beryl. Very nice to meet you. Why don't you start by telling me a little bit about you?
Sure. So I am a lifelong Ohioan who has lived in the area that is my house district for about 25 years. I've got three sons who went to Gahanna schools, which is one of the public school systems that's in the house district. Um, let's see, what else? I had the honor of serving as school board president in Gahanna for 8 years. Um, and I also am an attorney. I worked for the state of Ohio. The last 10 years of my work with the state, I worked in a role where it was my job to help people know what their legal rights were and make sure that they knew how to navigate the workers' comp system. So that's kind of my background that I brought into the role that I'm in now, which is the state representative for this House district. Um, and
Excellent.
I'll let you ask some more
All right, yeah.
questions.
Can you tell me a little bit about the district itself, about District 4?
Sure. So like I said, I've lived here about 25 years. Love the area. We chose this community, this area of Ohio, because it's a pretty diverse area, diverse in all kinds of different ways. There are a lot of people who have lived here their entire life, but there's also a large number of people who come to this area because they've chosen it, just like us. One of the main reasons that we chose to live here is the excellent school system that we have. And really, all of the schools that are in this area of town are just really, really good quality schools. It's a community where people care about each other, where they look out for each other. I don't know, it's I guess like a quintessential Midwestern town where people are friendly, they know each other, even if they don't know each other. They try to get to know each other and take care of each other. I just think it's just a really special place.
That's great. And when I'm assuming you're out talking to people, what are you hearing from people out in the district now? Like, what are the issues that are really coming up these days?
Yes, yeah. I have been out talking to people a whole lot. We've actually knocked about 25,000 doors at this point. We are out every single day talking to people who live in the community. I think in general, people feel very similarly to the way that I describe feeling about the community. It's a community of people who love and feel a lot of pride in where we live. We are very fortunate in this part of Ohio that we've had a lot of economic growth and um, opportunities for good jobs. One of the things that I do hear pretty consistently, though, is just some underlying kind of worry about making sure that as we continue to have this growth and economic strength, wanting to make sure that we preserve the thing about our community that drew us here to begin with, which is that it's a place where people, we know each other, we care about each other. There is a lot of diversity, and I am consistently hearing from people a worry that they may no longer be able to afford to live here, so they want to make sure that as we grow, that we do it in a way that we keep things affordable so that we can have that diversity of age and diversity of income level in the community.
Is there a way, like a good way that you can think of to do that from the State House?
Yes, we have lots of ways. We just have to uh, reflect those values in the bills that we're passing to do that. So, for example, um, property taxes is one way that we make decisions at the state about who gets impacted by rising property taxes. So We have a lot of control at the state level about how we choose to fund local services, whether that funding comes from the state or whether that funding comes from the local level, and the proportion that comes from the local level versus what comes from the state. We also have choices to make about whether those tax dollars are coming from somewhere like property taxes or whether they are coming from somewhere like income taxes. There's several bipartisan solutions actually that have been introduced this year and in years prior that are really just sitting and waiting for committee hearings. And those bipartisan solutions would make sure that our municipalities that depend on funding, our schools, our libraries, our social services, those services need to be funded, but not on the backs of the people who can least afford it, which is people who have lower levels of income and perhaps people who are on a fixed income because they have retired and they're relying on either a pension or Social Security that isn't keeping up with cost of living.
What's something that you've done in the House that you are proudest of?
Um, One of the things that I am most proud of is um, this is a little bit in the weeds, but we were able to. So I'll stay out of explaining the weeds of it. But we were able to provide some additional funding to our state board of education probably about a month ago. The state board was facing a scenario where they weren't going to have enough funding to pay for background checks for teachers and other staff that school districts need to hire. And we were able to work in a bipartisan way to make sure that they had the funding that they needed in order to continue doing that.
And I would imagine that working with in a bipartisan way in Ohio is a pretty big deal.
It is, yeah. I mean, I guess that I should have said that. Like, that's one of the reasons that I am most proud. There are a lot of pieces of legislation that I'm very proud of writing, working hard on, and introducing. This particular piece of funding was something that we actually were able to get done and get it done in a bipartisan way. And that is something that is difficult to do when we're in an extreme minority.
Yeah. Okay, so could you give me something where you and your opponent maybe differ?
Sure. So, like I said, I've lived in Ohio my whole life. I've lived in the district about 25 years, and all of those years I have been actively engaged in the community, both as a volunteer or as a local elected. My opponent really has not lived in the area very long and has no record at all that I'm aware of engaging with the community. So that's the biggest difference. I don't know what his values and what his beliefs are because he has no record. I know that he has been endorsed by an organization called Americans for Prosperity, which I think would have no interest in endorsing a candidate like me. So that does tell me something about the difference in what our philosophies and what our approaches would be.
All right, so now we get to what is actually my favorite question, which is I call it's my softball question. Would you tell me something about your district that makes it magical or special to you?
Oh gosh, this is going to be probably a really personal answer, but the thing that makes it most magical and special to me is that my three kids have grown up here and have been shaped into the amazing humans that they are and that they're becoming, not just by me, but by this incredible staff of people in our schools who love and have taken care of the boys and really helped raise them. And by all of, I mean, I told you about this as a community where people really look out for each other and care about each other. And I could not ask for anything more than to have um, these three most important things in my life be able to grow up in this community.
That is perfect. Thank you. Beryl Brown-Piccolantonio is serving in the Ohio State House, representing District 4, and is up for re-election this year. Best of luck in the next 5 weeks, Representative. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Bryan.